Okay, it's 12 o'clock. We might as well call the meeting to order. Kelly, have you got attendance?
Yes, I did. Thanks.
Okay, great, thank you. I need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I'll motion it.
Seconder?
I'll second it.
Okay, any disclosures, guys? No disclosures. Well, we'll move on to item 4 is a review of the advisory forum. Last night we had a fairly good crowd out at the out at Hanwell Place. Had quite a few people in attendance. Had a good question and answer session. I'm going to turn it over to Brett. I know he wants to give a summary on that meeting last night. So.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I think the meeting went quite well at a slightly different format than what we've done in the past, but I think that helped us get to a conclusion a little sooner than we're sometimes able to. The main takeaway were the priorities. Obviously, we always pick 3. In this case, they're the same priorities as were chosen by the communities in the region last year, which were traffic enforcement, community engagement, and targeted enforcement efforts. Specifically, I guess, targeted enforcement isn't necessarily self-explanatory, but it would be intelligence-based operations against potentially prolific offenders. The other key takeaway, I think, was there was a request from the RCMP to the communities within the region to provide a calendar of events that they'd be interested in the RCMP attending or having a presence at, and that would sort of feed into that community engagement component. So to that end, I would suggest that staff reach out to the participants in the forum from last night and follow up and see if we can coordinate a collection of those calendars of events and then forward them on to the RCMP for their use.
I'd suggest to that, Brett, would be to reach out to all the communities, not just the members that were there last night.
Sure.
There were missing quite a few communities that weren't there.
Yeah, and that brings up the last point that I wanted to make, Mr. Chair. And of course, we discussed it briefly last night after the event, but yeah, the attendance was I would say a little lower than what we've had certainly last year. And a possible explanation, this is just speculation, but that may be an indication that there's a lower level of concern about the RCMP services at this point. You recall last year there was some concern that there was a lack of presence and maybe a reduced level of staffing within the region. Of course, that was addressed earlier, within the last few months with the addition of I believe 15 new officers for the region. That would be one positive interpretation of the attendance. But yeah, certainly we'll reach out to all of the municipalities within the region for and follow up on those calendars of events and then forward them on to the RCMP.
Okay, I'll just go around the table for those that were there last night if they have any additional comments or what they thought of last night's session. So I'll start with Mr. Powell.
They're really obliging and open. That's what I like about the new crew of the RCMP. I was disappointed too in the amount of people that showed up, which is it's a sin, really. The RCMP are pretty busy people, and they take the time to do that, and no one hardly show up. It is kind of disappointing. But other than that, I thought it was great. They're pretty open, and they answered all the questions like they should have. So I'm good with it.
Great. Thanks, Bob. How about Mr. Trail?
Oh, I thought it was an excellent meeting last night. Like you said, there was not enough people there, but I know from our community, we've had the RCMP come to our meetings, And they have no problem coming talking to us and getting our concerns right directly from us. And I think maybe that's what some of the other communities should step up and do is invite them to one of their council meetings every so often.
Okay, thank you. And how about Mr. Ferris?
Yes, I enjoyed the meeting last night. I like going to meetings like that, and representing my community. I thought maybe one of the priorities might be education, maybe a little bit more stuff out there for people like to lock up your doors and to pay attention to what's going on in your neighborhood with maybe cars that are different and stuff like that. But I like their priorities really. The top three, those are really good. I did have a problem last year trying to get them out, but I know they're busy doing things. And I'm going to work with Kelly this year better to maybe get a little bit more direction and the timing of the events. And I would like them to come to a council meeting to explain to my other 7 councilors just the play-by-play of what they do through a quarter meeting. It just has to be one of them, but we've had a lot more visibility out here with those guys and public safety. They worked on some big cases out here, and I know they did in Minto too. And we love having them in our community. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ferris. And like I said, it was certainly a good turnout by the RCMP. They had the superintendent there plus 3 sergeants and 2 support staff. So it was,
Yep.
They take us seriously, and they do show up in force, and they do have a lot of information. And after the meeting was over, they hung around for a bit and talked to people individually. So they take it seriously. Again, I wish more of our own group would take it seriously. And maybe that's something we can do, is to put out a note that maybe encourage people to attend these forums. I think it's a good idea. There's a lot of information out there that they don't get just after reading a document. So when you're actually participating, it works out really well. Yes, go ahead.
Can I ask other councilors to come with me if they're interested? Or is it a closed event?
No, the forum is open to certainly all the directors, and if they want to bring councilors along, I don't think there'd be a problem with that. What do you think, Brett?
No, Mr. Chair, you're right on that. The way the procedural bylaw is written, we have a minimum number of invitees, but we're certainly able to expand those. So I think
Okay.
I think more participation is a good thing, and certainly we can accommodate it, especially where we do these forums. Typically, we do them virtually, so space isn't an issue when you do it online, right?
Well, not online, Brent. I meant at the actual meeting.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point, Andrew. And the chair and I spoke about that earlier, and certainly we would not turn somebody away.
Councilors, okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We actually had a member of the public show up last night, just has interest in what the RCMP, their involvement is in the community, and that was certainly good to see. Mr. Smith, you were there last night. Did you have any comments? Anything you observed or?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to the members. I thought it was an excellent event in terms of that. Of course, as everyone had commented, perhaps the turnout could have been a little bit better, but I think given the conditions of the evening and everything that may have played into it as well. I was really impressed with the level of commitment that they were making on the efforts that they want to extend for community engagement and the outreach. And I think that we should encourage all of our members of the board and our community member communities to take advantage of that. And certainly the sergeants that were there representing the various parts of the district, they were more than willing to engage, either as Mr. Ferris said, with the council or in the community, and do some education pieces as well. I think that was what Director Mowry was mentioning last night, was that community engagement when he was talking, and I've heard him speak of that before, where some of the RCMP officers, they stopped by, they saw the kids playing at their local basketball and pickleball courts and tennis courts, I guess little complex that they have in Tracy, and how meaningful that was when they got out there and talked to those young people and really tried to keep them on the straight and narrow. So I thought it was really good. I thought the RCMP sticking around was excellent, and I do want to give a shout out um, to the superintendent. He came over afterwards and talked to one of the counselors from Arcadia about the waterway safety and things like that. We explored some ideas that he said he would like to follow up on with them. So certainly a great willingness and a great overture from the RCMP to work on different things as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. One of the things that one of the sergeants brought to my attention is that they'd certainly be willing to come and put on a public presentation for fraud, this internet fraud, where a lot of the, not just the elderly people, some of the younger folks too, but there seems to be more emphasis on the elderly people getting taken in by these internet scams, people looking for money, and folks are losing quite a bit of money, and they don't necessarily report it because they're embarrassed by it. So if I said we'll certainly take them up on that, we could put on a presentation. We could probably, you wouldn't have to do one in every, certainly in every one of the offices, but we could do one and invite the surrounding municipalities to it. So just certainly food for thought, I think would be a great idea.
And Mr. Chair, that's something obviously that we could assist with at the Regional Service Commission level. If that's something that the committee members were interested in, we could assist in coordinating that. Great,
appreciate it. No, like I said,
Mr. Chair,
yeah,
sorry, Mr. Chair, if I may, I apologize. I should just put my hand up there. But if I could remember, towards the conclusion of the RCMP report, and I think this is a valuable piece of information to remind everybody every chance we get, is to report. If there's something happening in your communities, encourage people to report. I think Member Trail, you had mentioned about the concern that some individuals had about taking, reporting and perhaps being identified in some way, shape, or form. And they were going to try to have some community outreach and engage on that as well to dispel some of those myths that do exist. So.
And nobody brought it up last night, but there's also the Crime Stoppers Association, and they have, like anybody reports through them, they have, guards in place there that the name will not become public. It's very confidential and it works, and there's actually rewards offered. So this cash incentive always helps people.
Well, I think as a region, we need to put out the information so that people understand that if they do report a crime, that they're not necessarily going to be identified.
Yeah. We can, Mr. Chair, I mean, I think there's some value. We can have a continued discussion with the RCMP on those points. And if depending on how those discussions go, we may have something that we can bring back to the committee to report. Yeah, there's absolutely some value in that. I know in particular, Member Trail, I mean, I can empathize, in the smaller the community that you're in, the more likely or the greater the fear that you would be identified. In a community where everybody knows everybody, that's a legitimate concern. It's hard to be anonymous.
That's correct.
Yeah, no, we'll have that conversation with them.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for their input. Is there any more discussion coming forward?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I just wanted to bring it to the attention and I guess remind the committee members. Our next forum meeting is going to be at the beginning of May, and we're going to be dealing with not only the Q4 report from the RCMP, but we're also going to be dealing with, we'll have a presentation from Public Safety, Department of Justice and Public Safety. They have a huge scope of responsibilities. And I think it's worth mentioning to the members here today that there may be some value in putting some thought into areas of focus. If there are any areas in particular that the members are interested in, any particular questions that they would like addressed in the presentation, just forward those on to, they can forward them on to myself or on to Kelly, and we'll make sure that we pass those on to JPS. so they can include that in that presentation. And I think in fairness to JPS, maybe if we could try to target those questions or areas of focus for maybe the end of March, the beginning of April, and that would give them enough time to incorporate it into any presentation that they develop.
Great. Thank you, Brett. While we're here, any other, not just relating to last night's forum, but is there anything else that the committee members want to speak on regarding public safety?
Just be careful driving today.
Yeah, that's a given. Is there anything?
It's nice down here in Oromocto, but I know it's a mess everywhere else, so.
And it never rains or snows in Oromocto. All right, is there anything else anybody wanted to discuss, bring forward? Now is the opportunity. All right, if there's nothing else, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
Bob Powell.
All right, meeting adjourned at 12:16 p.m. Thanks, guys. Appreciate everybody getting